Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another 4chan Stories video, and today we're going to be getting into some disturbing stories from 4chan. I've got a long video for you guys today, and a lot of great stories. These stories are scary, interesting, and you're just going to want to stick around and listen to them. I love them all. And thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate every single one of you, and please like and subscribe to the channel. The channel subscriber goal is 500,000 subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, enough yapping. Without further ado, let's get into some disturbing stories from 4chan. Okay, X, I need to talk to you about something and tell my story. I'm telling you right now, don't expect any sort of satisfying conclusion, barring a major breakthrough. Also, if updates come slowly, it's because I was told by my psychologist to take my time and get every detail I possibly can. There will be some parts written that will be more for setup than anything else, and the green texted parts will be, quite literally, flashes taken from my memory. This whole ordeal takes quite a bit of concentration, so please bear with me. When I was 8 years old, I had a gap in my memory. This gap was over a little 12 hours and took place during a family weekend at our cabin in a state park. I could remember waking up in the cabin on our second day there, early in the morning to go snowshoeing. Then I remember pulling into the driveway out of our home later that night, with my family, who were all dead silent, and me feeling terrified. I had nightmares for 2 years that would wake me up screaming. My sister did too. My parents were never mad at us, they were quite understanding, and never asked what the nightmares were about. I never asked my sister about hers. I knew in my gut that we both dreamt about the cabin in our final weekend there. That's all I could remember about them. They were about the cabin. I was running and nothing else. It got to be too much for me after 2 years, having this gap, not remembering. I finally built up the courage to ask my dad, why don't we go to the cabin anymore? I remember the look on his face. The blood had completely drained from it. He looked horrified, then angry, then confused. He asked me, you don't remember? His voice was quiet, a whisper. I just shook my head, no. He looked relieved. He put a slightly scared looking smile on his face and said, there was a fire and it burned down. It was pretty bad and you were young and scared. Your brain must have hid the memory from you so you wouldn't be scared anymore. My brain can do that? Yes, your brain can do some funny things. It's all to help you though, so don't think about it anymore. Okay, that was it. It was my dad. No reason for him to lie to me except about Santa Claus. Of course I believed him, and I would have gone on believing him if I didn't overhear him that night. I had a TV in my room and a bedtime of 9 p.m. at the time. My sister, being 4 years older, would get to stay up later. One of my regular habits would be watch TV after I went to bed by muting it and putting the captions on. So that night, I did the same thing. And when my father thought I was asleep, I could overhear him talking to my mother and sister. I won't bother you with the whole conversation, just the important parts. He does remember. We're pests probably. I told him there was a fire and not to dwell on it. If he asks anymore, tell him one of our lanterns got knocked over when we were setting up dinner. I didn't sleep that night. Hard to do so when you found out your whole family is conspiring against you and you don't understand why. And at 10 years old, I was too damn afraid to confront them again. The years went by. I did my best to forget that my family was lying to me. I really was too afraid to know what happened. The nightmares kept up, but I got better at dealing with them. I stopped waking up screaming by the time I turned 11. The year I entered high school, my grandma had a stroke and my mom retired to take care of her. State trooper for 20 years. My dad was one as well and retired at 28 years. Their careers are somewhat relevant later. I started falling into depression around then, actively thinking about killing myself. I didn't know why, I just didn't want to keep going. My parents had guns. I knew where they were. Quick and painless. I almost did it in my sophomore year, but couldn't will myself to pull the trigger. I was 20 when I decided I had enough. My first girlfriend lasted 2 years, cheated on me, broke up with me, and I didn't see a reason to go on anymore. She knew about my past attempt and history of depression, only one I ever told to that point, and got scared and called the cops on me. I was put in psychiatric institute for a week and was put in touch with a psychologist to help me. I'm sorry guys, I'm I know I'm going slow enough already, but this next bit is hard. I need a few minutes. Half hour or so, and I'll be back. Someone replied, we'll be waiting. And someone else replied, I'll wait. Thank you, the OP said. By the time I met with my psychologist, I knew I wasn't a danger to myself anymore. I had decided that I couldn't do that to my family, and it wasn't some medical professional who made me come to that decision. It was my uncle. He owns a vending company and stocks the machines. One of his clients is the psych institute I was in. He pulled me aside at lunch and begged me to do what I had to do to get better. He told me how my dad informed him of what happened to me, how he was sobbing uncontrollably, how until my dad got the words out, he was afraid his brother was telling him that he was sick and gonna die. That got to me. Not particularly relevant, but it's one of the most important moments in my life and helps show why I made some of the decisions I made after. So I looked forward to seeing my psychologist. I wanted to figure out my problems and get better, so I would never even think of putting my family through that again. Doc was really nice, and I opened up to him immediately. We just sort of hit it off really well. Maybe it was my eagerness, maybe it was because I felt like he genuinely wanted to help, probably both. For 7 sessions, 1 a week for 7 weeks, I talked about my life and childhood and everything and anything I thought might be relevant and even the stuff I didn't think was. I answered his questions as best as I could, and he sat and listened to me. It was on the 8th week that we finally touched on my dreams, in the blocked memory of the cabin. I don't know why he waited so long. I had to admit that I had trouble sleeping due to the nightmares almost all my life in my 3rd session, and there wasn't a follow-up until now. Maybe he was just trying to get to know more about me and get me more comfortable with him before he broached it, but he broached it. He did. Let's talk about your nightmares. You told me you've had them consistently since you were young. What are they about? I don't know how. I can't remember them ever, just little bits. I'm at our old cabin, I'm running, I'm scared. Nothing else. I told you about our cabin, right? Yes, you said you spent a lot of time there when you were young. Sounded like you loved the place. Did something happen there? Yes. What happened? I don't know. I can't remember. My dad says there was a fire. You don't believe him? No, he lied. Why do you say that? It was then that I related to him everything you currently know. The lie my father told me, the agreement between my family to keep up the lie, and of course the total block of what happened. A blocked memory of a cabin from childhood, nightmares since, family not telling me the truth for my own good, depression years later, and a S-word attempt. I was every psychologist's wet dream. And I knew it when I saw Doc's eyes that he had written this up to one of 2 things. 1, I was M-worded. 2, I witnessed a murder. 3, both. Don't think it hadn't crossed my mind. I had pretty much written that off as what happened, especially once I started unblocking pieces of that memory and parts of it. The more I remembered though, the more I realized that's not what happened, so don't go writing me off just yet. So this is when Doc and I got to work. He had me start keeping a dream journal and writing as much as I could about the nightmares the second I woke up. We did meditations during the session and had me practice at home. He even took me to a friend of his who was a hypnotherapist where I was told I wasn't susceptible to hypnotism, probably because I believe it's total bullshit. I threw myself at unblocking the memory with Doc's help. I was done running from it. I was done ignoring it. I even told my family that I knew the fire story was a lie, but they still wouldn't tell me a goddamn thing. My father almost actually took me off therapy after that, which I knew was a risk, but I begged and pleaded not to. He finally relented, but still wouldn't talk about that day. At the advice of Doc, I even revisited the cabin once. I went in the summer and during the day. It was a ruin and burnt to the ground. I'd gotten pieces of that day back by then, and I knew there was no fire, and I had made the assumption that my fire came back at some point and burned it. 4 fucking years. I did all of this for 4 years and still am. I don't have all the memory back, just pieces. I have filled page after page, book after book, with details of my nightmares, repeated and repeated until finally something new would come out. And that would repeat and repeat and repeat until another new thing came up. In those same journals, I would sit and write as much as I can remember after each meditative session. Doc and I don't know what happened yet. Not the whole story, but we're still piecing it together. I brought up sharing the details with you guys and seeing what you thought. He was initially against it because he didn't want your judgments and theories to cloud over my memories. After a while, though, he agreed to it on the condition that I don't jump on whatever you guys say. I reassured him that I have done too much work to buy into whatever explanation a group of anonymous people come up with. So here it goes, everything I remember, as accurately as I possibly can. Morning. Wake up. Parents asleep on the bed. Sister in sleeping bag next to me. Pull my snowsuit and snowshoes on. Go outside for a walk through woods. Sun shining bright off the pure white snow. Get walking. Clean smell. Crisp, cold air. Crunching of snow beneath my feet. Stick to trail, not too far. Reach tree with blue marker nailed into it. Go off trail to the right. Corpse of trees. Little snow fort sister and I built. Go inside snow fort. Add little things to it. Fridge and storage areas. Make beds a little nicer and smoother. Good work. Start making snowballs to pelt my sister with. Feel the cold snow between my now ungloved fingers. Carefully craft the perfect snow spheres. Wrong. Something feels wrong. Bad smell. Rotting animal. Snow crunch. Think, sister. Snow crunch again. Noise not coming from direction of trail or cabin. Crunch. Smell gets worse. Dead silent. No animals. Nothing. Smell. Crunch. Crawl out of snow fort. Crunch. Silence. Laugh. Not me. Can't breathe. Smell. Crunch. Behind me. Turn. Laugh. Not me. Paralyzed. Horror. Can't see it. Right in front of me. Don't want to see it. Blank, blank, blank. Running. Branches hitting me. Cutting cheek. Fingers ice cold. Numb. Crunch, laugh, not me. Smell. Behind me. Scream. Running, cabin, crying, screaming, running. Cabin door open. Parents run out. Sister too. Grab me. Hold me. What's wrong? Can't talk. Crying. Laugh, not laugh. Behind me. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Parents, sister. Look up. Scream. Blank, blank. Screaming. Yelling. Inside cabin now. Two laughs, not laughs, outside. Bang on door. Bang, bang. Smell, laugh, not laugh. Screaming. Parents, guns. Click, click. Safety's off? Dad. Fuck what? Fuck. Get away. Warning shoot you. Fuck. Mom. Tear shouting. Can't hear. Sister. Screaming. Me. Numb. Laugh. Not laugh. Smell. Banging. Blank, blank, blank. Outside. Running. Gunshots. Bang, bang, bang. Screaming. Not us. Gunpowder smell. Bad smell. Angry screaming. Not us. Car door open. In car. Driving away fast. Parents, sister, me. Screaming, crying, yelling. Me not want to look. Must look. See cabin. One figure. Person. Not person. Was two figures. Two persons, not persons. One gone, gunshots. Driving. Me paralyzed. Smell less. Angry screaming less, not us. Blank. So, that's my story. From what I can tell, there was one at first, then another must have shown up either before or after we made it to the cabin. I think my parents managed to kill one of them, or at least seriously injured it, since I only saw one when we were driving away, and it sounded angry. I can't remember what they looked like exactly, other than they looked like people, but weren't. The exact features are lost in the blanks. They weren't people, I know that. If we were attacked by people, my parents wouldn't have been so goddamn scared, and they're both very distinguished and respectable police officers who retired with the respect of everyone they worked with. If someone attacked us, they would have reported it. Even if they killed one of them, it was self-defense. I don't know what the fuck they were. I'm still trying to remember, but I don't know if I ever will. There were 2 laughs outside the cabin. Sorry if I didn't make the distinction that there were 2 different laughs instead of one that repeated twice. I can remember seeing 2 at some point as well, but I don't really recall when. The blanks make it tough. Maybe when my parents were shooting them? I don't know. If I get through more of the blanks, I'll come back here to update. Though, since it took 4 years to get that much, I wouldn't expect an update for a while. You're actually asking the same question Doc asked me once, but he was just trying to get me to remember how I know there was 2 and when exactly the second one showed up. Don't think I haven't thought about it, and Doc's been encouraging another confrontation now that I know more. It's just the way they looked when I told them I knew there was no fire. I think they're trying to forget as much as I'm trying to remember. I've already hurt them once, and I don't want to hurt them again. Maybe I just don't know. As I said, I've talked with Doc about it. He told me I should just get the 4 of us in a room together, and then I just lay out everything I know and watch their reactions. From there, I might be able to get them to fill in the blanks, that they were there for at least. He argues that they might just pick it up and fill them in without even thinking about it, and if they all clam up, then to maybe look at questioning them one at a time. Yeah, pretty much. Remember how I mentioned the blue marker nailed to the tree? Red markers marked the tree. The blue one was put up by my dad to mark the furthest out on the trail that my sister and I were allowed to go without my parents. The snow fort wasn't far off the trail, and was clearly visible from it, and they both knew about it. Believe me, if and when I confront them again, I plan on opening up with me going back there. I did it before I knew as much as I do now. If I knew as much as I did, I definitely wouldn't have gone there alone and unarmed. Going there did help remove a block or 2, though. I already mentioned that, and that I wasn't susceptible to. Those were the experts' exact words. I think they were trying to break in. There was a window to let light into the cabin. Something happened with the window during the encounter. I didn't mention it because I don't have enough of the block removed to know what happened other than the fact that something did. Doc says making assumptions is bad because it can cloud the actual memory, but I'm assuming at one point, one of them broke in through it, or maybe we climbed out of it. I don't know. If OP is still here, could tell us if they looked like this? Fuck. I don't know whether to hate you or thank you for this. The mouth, the fucking mouth. It smiled at me. It fucking smiled at me. In the video, when it was screaming at the lady, the shape of the mouth, the teeth, it's hitting something. I can see it smiling, I can see it smiling, I can see it screaming, fuck. Why can't I see past the mouth? That's something. They're on the edge of it. I've read plenty on SW and Skinwalkers, and while there are definite similarities, nothing struck home as a definite yes. Alright, I just called Doc after hitting on the mouth, and he helped calm me down and guide me through it. If the recollection is especially strong as this one, was I freaked out and can't deal with it on my own. I was able to see the mouth clearly, and now after Doc's help, I was able to see what was on the edge of it. The lips are blood red. Damn, I knew going to you guys with this was a good idea. Not much of. I mean, how much can there be in so short of a time? I worked for 16 hours yesterday, went home, slept for about 5 hours, and now I'm back at work for 8. The breakthrough I had last night with remembering the mouth. I saw it in my dreams last night. I was able to see the teeth and remember them when I woke up, despite the other guy not being me. He was kind of right. They were like shark's teeth. They were sharp and in rows, 4 to 6 rows, something like that. Unlike a shark, they were clean, very clean, just pure white like the snow, and they were all perfectly positioned. Not a single one was crooked or missing. They were perfect teeth. I just want to say that I know the model of the guns, not from this memory, but because I have seen and held them at other points in my life. I can't tell you who fired, what they look like while firing, or anything like that. It's just lost me. Doc's tried that approach before. I can tell you the number of gunshots though. There are points in my memory where I can't see anything but I can hear. And other times I can't really hear anything. It's distorted, but I can see. And then there are times when everything is blank and times when everything is distorted. Loud noise, don't know what. Gunshot 5 times, 2 sound from left, 3 from right of me. Pause. Fuzzy noises, some loud, shouting maybe, screaming, blank. Running, blank. 3 gunshots now. Can't tell where they are relative to me. Maybe 2 more shots after that. That's it for the shots. I'm back. I promised an update, and here it is. I confronted my family. We talked. I remember everything and wish I could go back to forgetting. That's it. Sorry, guys. Old thread for those who don't know what I'm talking about. Will you tell us about it, or is it too much for you? It's hard. The thing is that my family has been dealing with the events of that day and the things they saw for the last 16 years. They still had real trouble even forming words to describe things. It's all new to me, and I can't touch too close to certain parts about it, well, without dissolving into a mess. These creatures, when you looked into their eyes, you saw things. Things you can't imagine. Don't want to imagine. Things you can't. Just can't. I can't. Can you at least give us a rundown of the events? Not asking for super detailed stuff, but I was in the original thread and I'd like to at least know the chain of events. I'll try. Because I deliver. I promised an update, and I did. I went into the forest. I was at the snow fort when the smell hit me. I could hear something moving, went outside the fort, looked, and there it was not 5 feet from me. It was smiling at me. Red lips and lots of sharp, pointed teeth. Its skin was dark, not black, just dark. The eyes were green. I fell back startled. That's when I looked into its eyes. I went into some sort of trance state and I saw things. Horrible, evil, awful things. When I hit the ground, the trance broke. I wasn't falling for 5 seconds, but it felt like I was in the trance for years. I don't think it realized that I had come out of the trance. I got up and ran back to that cabin. It laughed that fucking laugh and chased me. Remember how I said I cut my cheek on a branch? That wasn't it. A second one of these things was waiting on the trail. I ran past it and it made a casual grab for me. The fingers on the hand were like knives and split the skin on my cheek so easily. I reached the cabin. My family was outside. They were asking me what was wrong when they saw those things come out of the trees. My dad picked up my sister and I with one arm each and ran to the cabin. He slammed the door shut and locked it. And he and my mom got their guns out. They were as scared as my sister and I were. They had no idea what the fuck these things were. We could hear them outside laughing and banging on the door. They each put a few rounds through the door and still that fucking laughter was there. Still the door was banging. No one noticed it wasn't banging as hard, as fast as before. What part of the country did this occur in? Somewhere in the Eastern time zone, in a state that borders Canada. That was me. For some reason my trip got deleted when I hit post. That's when the windows shattered from behind us. One of them had gone around the back and broken through it, while the other had us distracted at the door. It slipped in. I don't know how else to describe it. It moved like a snake made of smoke. The fucking thing laughed and the one outside laughed. My parents said they looked into its eyes and they went into the trance like I did. While they were frozen, the other came around and slipped through the window as well. This one caught my sister's gaze and she was lost. They didn't seem to need to keep eye contact to hold the trance. It was just one look and it was done. Both of them were now moving towards us while trying to catch my eye, but I wouldn't let them. I don't want to go back and see that again. They didn't move fast now. It was like they knew it was over and had no need to hurry. I remembered how falling had jolted me up, so I shoved my dad as hard as I could from behind and he fell forward onto his knees. That was enough. He shouted at me to get the door as he grabbed my mom and sister. The gentlest shove broke them out and we were running out of the car. The creatures were moving faster now and came after us. They were still doing that laugh, right up until my dad turned around and shot one of them. He shot 3 times and I turned my head back to see one of them go down. The one that was still standing looked angry and screamed so horribly it made their laughs seem natural. We managed to get into the car and my dad just floored it. I looked back and the thing was still standing next to its fallen, friend? Brethren? And still it screamed as we drove away. And that's how it ended. That's what happened. I won't go into any more detail than I did. It was hard enough to write what I got out. Thanks for listening. Amazing story I've been following since the last thread. Any possible explanation / identification for the creatures involved? Someone mentioned skinwalkers. Also, so at this point your entire family has openly talked about the event and it's now recognized that everyone has the same version of the story? I highly doubt they were skinwalkers. They didn't act or look anything like I've heard of a skinwalker acting or looking like. Also, I really only believe maybe 1 or 2 skinwalker stories on this site are real. And yes. Thanks for coming back and letting us know the gaps in the story. I was in the other thread too. Hope you and your family are alright. Thank you. It was a hard conversation to have. Any way to describe what they look like? Reptilian? humanoid, skin, fur, scales, etc. Humanoid. They had skin, but it was weird. There were instances, like when they came through the window, where they were like smoke. Their heads were always there and always solid, but the rest of them changed. How about the head shape? Humanoid, dog-like, reptilian? If you give enough of a description of them, perhaps an artist could do an impression, and you could say whether or not it looked like them. Head was humanoid, the thin face, sharp features, large mouth, sharp teeth, red lips, oval-shaped eyes, pale green, no ears that I saw, bald. I need some help here, OP. We shouldn't be making monsters for this guy. I'm not saying this is real, but I have a firm belief that this guy doesn't want to remember the things he saw as a child. Then someone shouldn't really try to create his description. Show some respect. First set of eyes is the closest. Get rid of the pupils though. First, head is closest. Change the nose to just 2 horizontal slits. Hands, none of them. It was just like the arms ended in a series of 4 thin blades. Long. Thank you, it's not so much of them, I'm just trying to forget though. It's what they made me see. What they showed you. Were they things humans did to each other, what they do to you, or things from another world or dimension? Pretty damn close. No, just no, I'm not getting into that at all. Just a sketch. I guess we have a thing. Skin and eyes are wrong color. Put the mouth into a smile. That's damn close otherwise. After this, Anons inquired OP to go into more detail about the visions. He noped and seemingly left the thread. Before my grandfather died, I convinced him to tell me a bunch of different stories about his time as an American soldier in Vietnam. Quite a few of them were paranormal / out of the ordinary, so I thought that I should share them here with X. If you have any knowledge about the Vietnamese paranormal stuff, please share, as I have a limited understanding of the subject. Also, wartime paranormal story thread, I guess. First, a little bit of context. Be my grandfather, drafted, sent to Nam, infantryman, private. On top of this, my grandfather is really short, like 5'4" short. Gets assigned as a tunnel rat, disarm explosives and booby traps above ground. Fight through and destroy Viet Cong tunnels below ground. Well, fuck, may as well shoot me right now. Another guy in his platoon, half Hispanic, is short, not as short as him, but still short. His name is Daniel, and is assigned as a tunnel rat with my grandfather. Together, they go on amazing subterranean adventures. JK, some of the shit they saw was, according to my grandfather, horrifying and mind-boggling. Story 1. Sent to clear out and destroy the tunnels. Equipped with a shitty flashlight, bayonet, some explosives, and an old revolver. Because the 1911 were apparently shit for clearing out tunnels. Basic mission, they've done this a couple times before by now. Tunnels are pretty small, even for a rat tunnel. Not finding any traps for Viet Cong. The tunnels almost seem abandoned. Whatever, they stay on guard for booby traps or armed G-words lurking behind corners. Come to a larger section in the tunnels. They can stop crawling and go into a crouching / half-standing position. They can hear water running through the tunnel, start to think that they're either above a river or that the tunnel just led into a watery cavern. Daniel shines flashlight over to the other side of the room, sees about 4 completely massive spiders. My grandfather says that they were no longer than a foot, and each had a leg span of about 2 to 2.5 feet long. 3 of them were bunched up right next to each other. One was resting about 3 feet away from the cluster. My grandfather hates spiders. He sits there paralyzed. Both of them sit there quietly, just staring at the spiders. This goes on for about 2 minutes. Grandfather takes his eyes off the cluster, looks towards the other one resting alone. It's not there. It's not there. My grandfather looks around and sees the spider on his left, slowly but steadily advancing towards them. He screams, fires at the thing, doesn't even seem to slow down. He hauls ass back up the tunnel, with Daniel following close behind him. Daniel throws a grenade into the chamber as they're climbing back up through the tunnels. Make it out, screaming and yelling about spiders. Nothing follows them out. Must have died from the grenade, or it just stopped pursuing them. My grandfather told me after the story that he is pretty sure that it wasn't even a Viet Cong tunnel they climbed into, but a tunnel that the spiders themselves made. Story number 2, this one is shorter, once again crawling underground to destroy a Viet Cong tunnel. Crouch walking through the tunnels, they find a not so hidden booby trap. It's one of those ones booby traps that would release a bunch of scorpions or snakes upon tripping it. Grandfather and Daniel stop to consider their options. Figure that they might be able to disarm the trap. How hard could it be? Pretty hard apparently. This one was very complex for some reason. Not sure how to disarm the trap without releasing poisonous death animals. They decide to just blow the fucker up. Hope that the tunnel doesn't collapse. America. Back up a good bit. Lob a grenade over in the general direction. Wait. Collateral damage. Trap is gone. Continue forward. As they get to where the former trap was, they notice another tunnel, exposed by the grenade. One of the new tunnels comes a 5-foot-long centipede, which barrels right past them and down deeper into the tunnels. Not wanting another incident like with the spiders, they plant their charges and haul ass out of the tunnel. They make it out of the tunnels, shaken but no worse for wear. Pic related is the first thing Google gave me when I typed Vietnam centipede. Sorry for slow typing, dealing with stuff in the real world, on and off. Any run-ins with the rock apes? Story number 3. This one actually doesn't involve my grandfather directly, but is about some of the stories that he heard from while the guys over there. At the beginning of the war, my grandfather was talking to a bunch of guys from a different company. They tell him about how they saw a bunch of wild apes in the jungles. Bullshit. There are no apes in Vietnam. As the war goes on, more and more guys claim to have seen these apes. Oh fuck. They called them rock apes as they threw rocks at the soldiers they encountered. Apparently, they were coated in red hair and were normally about 5 feet tall. Grandfather still isn't convinced, thinks that they're either making shit up or are mistaken. A bunch of guys get really defensive, say that they're being awoken in the middle of the night by screams and hollers, while being pelted by rocks. When they went out to investigate, they were ambushed by the things. Apparently, the apes were extremely strong and managed to kill 2 different soldiers. Still managed to fend them off. Grandfather still doesn't really believe the guy, which was odd because he saw a lot of weird shit too. Grandfather says that he also heard stories about giant snakes in the jungles. Story number 4. About halfway through the war, orders to clear out some tunnels. Start crawling through. Start faintly hearing voices, either G-words or running water. Keep working their way through the tunnels. Voices get louder and louder. Oh fuck, this isn't water. Realize that they are probably really close to a room full of G-words. Decide to ambush them, then blow up the tunnels. Pull out their revolvers and rush further down into the caves. Fall into a spacious room. Large white eyes all around them. Fuck, that's a lot of G-words. Raising his flashlight, he noticed that they are not Viet Cong. According to my grandfather, they were about 3 to 4 feet tall, lanky, white, and had big eyes and ears. They were each wearing a bunch of different clothes, some obviously from looted corpses, others were basically just wearing rags. They make a hissing sound at him and Daniel, and start running deeper into the tunnels. Grandfather and Daniel are kind of awestruck and don't know what to do. Daniel keeps going on about Latin American folklore involving gnomes and shit. They eventually just climb out and report the tunnels as being abandoned. Pic related is apparently a Latin American gnome. Just a few weird stories left. Story number 5. This one actually doesn't involve tunnels. Day off, grandfather and others resting. A few of the other soldiers go down to a nearby river to cool off. About 30 minutes later, one soldier comes back screaming about how something in the river attacked one of them. Oh shit. They grab their rifles and a first aid kit and run down to the river. 3 soldiers are on the bank of the river. One is bleeding profusely and the other 2 are administering basic first aid. Grandfather says that something tore his left leg completely off. They look in the river, which is now red from blood. They see a giant serpent/eel-like creature swimming around, yellowish and long fins on its side. Said it looked like a massive moray eel with fins. What the fuck is this thing? They fire on it and it darts further down the river. They get the guy back to camp, but he dies of blood loss along the way. Story number 6. Grandfather and Daniel about to dive into some more tunnels, about to go in, when they hear a deafening roar come from the tunnel. Says it sounded like a fucking dragon. They all were stunned. Look at a nearby officer, who just kind of shrugs and tells them to go in. Geez, thanks asshole. This tunnel is apparently worse than most, filled with giant ants and spiders. Fucking spiders. Anyways, Grandfather continues to crawl through. The roaring gets more frequent the further they crawl down. Fuck this, not gonna die today. They plant the charges right there and haul ass out of the tunnel. As they are crawling back up, the tunnel starts shaking like mad. They hurry the fuck up and get back to the surface. Everything up there is shaking too. They detonate the charges, destroying most of the tunnel. Roaring and shaking proceeds to stop. I might be a little longer than the next one. It's long and probably the weirdest and most unbelievable of the bunch. Story number 7. Last paranormal story I have. Even I have a hard time believing this one at times, but my grandfather was almost certainly sincere when telling it. He was crying and absolutely racked with grief. This one is also a two-parter. Near the end of the war, once again clearing out tunnels, no creepy crawlies thus far. Crawling through, they realize that this tunnel leads into a cave of some sort. They explore the cave for a bit. They are about to head back up when they realize that there's a light coming from one of the passages in the cave, not either of their lights. Oh shit. They grasp their revolvers and walk through the passage. My grandfather says that they walked into a well-lit room filled with brightly colored plant life that they couldn't recognize. The light was coming from an orb on the ceiling of the cave. Vividly colored birds flying around everywhere. What the actual fuck is this place? Him and Daniel explore a little. Among other things, he finds spiky red fruit the size of a watermelon in a bright yellow pool of water. Grandfather says it looked like he was in a fever dream. They head towards the back of the room, find a stone altar. Blood is stained across the stone, and there's a couple of knives and other tools lying about stone. Their curiosity turns into dread. They turn around to get the hell out of there. They stop. There are 5 reptilian-looking humanoids staring back at them. Says they are about 5 feet tall, blackish green and scaly. They all appear to be wearing robes of some sort. Without hesitating, my grandfather and Daniel fire upon the creatures. One goes down, another shrieks out in pain. The room gets extraordinarily bright, and my grandfather passes out. Grandfather wakes back up, back in the main part of the cave. The passage him and Daniel went down is gone. Daniel is also lying next to him, but is barely breathing. My grandfather can only do so much for him down here, and drags Daniel out of the cave and back up through the tunnels. He gets back out and hauls up Daniel. They grab him and send him off to the medical attention. After pulling Daniel out of the cave, grandfather remembers about what he saw in the cave. Says that his vision once again goes black, and that he can't even remember the next 2 days. According to the other guys in his platoon, my grandfather was in a state of shock. He apparently could barely speak and stuttered a lot, almost like he was shell-shocked or something. He was also sent to get medical attention. 2 days later, he mostly recovers. He goes back, asks the platoon about Daniel. Apparently, he died shortly after being pulled out of the tunnels. Grandfather breaks down. Apparently, the war was close to ending after that. He only delved into 2 more tunnels after that experience. He legitimately hated anything subterranean after that. He despised caving, insects and lizards, and even requested to be cremated so that he wouldn't be buried underground. I showed him a picture of a generic reptilian alien, and he just about had a heart attack. He said that it just needed to be blacker, but that besides that, it was pretty close. I don't have any more paranormal stories from my grandfather about the war. Feel free to share if you have any of your own. True dark nets are not nets at all. Tor and protocols like it are an anonymity and plausible deniability source. Actual dark nets are kept well and truly hidden, and cannot be found by any means available to the average channer. Trust me. Just one example, out of maybe 4 or 5 I have personal experience with, to illustrate what it takes. Do take special note that this involves a great deal of luck. A friend of mine works at a small car insurance broker's office and asked me to fix a problem with his computer, not recognizing the office scanner on the network. This is not related, just how I ended up there. I brought my laptop and noticed a WEP wireless net with high signal strength. Out of curiosity, I turn on a sniffer to pick out the password while I work on the scanner. A few hours later, I'm leaving when I remember the sniffer. Got the pass, connected, poked around. So it's a basic home network. One system online with internet access, no firewall. Apparently no antivirus. For the hell of it, I drop in a backdoor before I leave. You never know what the goodies you can run across. Well, I get home and really start digging through this computer. Just your average home computer. Most interesting stuff are some tax returns. There's a couple of text files that have what appear to be passwords, random characters, and a couple of names. Not much interesting, so I put my worm on it and leave it be for future use maybe. Weeks later, I'm arranging some proxies for a few of my bots when I realize that there are 4 new bots I hadn't set up myself. What I figured later is that the owner of the WEP machine, my friend's boss, had taken a file from it on a floppy, which my worm happily infected, which then spread to a few more machines he used. This is where the interesting stuff begins. 2 of those machines had internet access, of course, but they had apparently never been used to actually access the internet. They both ran Windows 98 completely unpatched. They apparently had internet access only because they were physical networked with other machines that were used for internet access. Each of these machines had about 3 terabytes of storage, mostly appeared empty, but was actually packed near full of encrypted bytes. The stuff that was easily viewable included huge amounts of personal information, including SSNs and tax IDs, name, addresses, lists of family and friends, sometimes pets, sometimes a lot of details such as a vehicle, clothing, height, weight, recent medical issues, huge amounts of information. Not every listing had all of it. Some were just a name. What they all had were dates. Couldn't make much sense of that. What I could make sense of were the bank accounts. Thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of bank numbers, institutions, safety deposit boxes, all over the world. South Africa, Russia, Brazil, everywhere. Nothing but the basic identity information and another date. No note of what they might be. As I was picking through one of these 2 machines, I noticed a file being written. I figured someone was using the computer at that moment, but the only command events were coming from my worm. Nobody was using a mouse or keyboard, so then I figured it was an automated system process. Watched what it was doing for a minute. Then I realized the computer was communicating on another network that wasn't a protocol I recognized. Because I knew when it started writing and when it stopped, I was able to transcribe the entire file, which is about 78 megabytes. I assumed it was one file and not a chunk of something else, and I was right. It was still encrypted, but it turned out to be fairly simple. Since it was one file, I had a few educated guesses about what a file that size was, and my first was right. It was a movie, MPEG format. The title was just a random string. The video itself was an overhead view of 3 men sitting at a table. In the entire 15 minutes of the video, only one spoke. Sounded like gibberish. I figured it was a code or he was nuts. He said things like broken banana, stung red boot. He would pause and say another strange sentence. Kept going for about 10 minutes. The other 2 just watched him. One was drinking what I assume was coffee. Finally, he leaned back and asked if they would leave his daughter alone. The guy drinking the coffee just shook his head quickly. The talker started crying. Really crying. Hard. He leaned forward again and said another nonsense sentence and the video ended. Timestamp was about 20 minutes before the video was uploaded to the machine I got it from. I had a really weird feeling about it, but my best guess at the time was it was some kind of clip from a movie I hadn't seen. And what I saw was a streaming broadcast. The timestamp on the file just being the time it was being sent. In it, the man that had spoken in the first one was crying like a baby, as he killed what appeared to be a young girl, with her throat cut and blood all over the table that the 3 men had been sitting at in the first video. The other 2 men were still in the room, standing on either side of the room watching, smoking cigarettes. I didn't finish watching it, only got about a minute or so in before it sank in what I was seeing. I've seen a lot in my time. This was not a movie. I cleaned my traces from those systems and haven't looked back. What I'm still finding hard to believe is, from the computer I'd originally hacked, these other systems got infected by a floppy. As near as I can tell, the 2 storage computers were on opposite sides of the globe, one in LA, one in Beijing. The WEP computer I'd found was in Dallas, and 2 of the other infected computers were in Winnipeg. As far as I know, my friend's boss had not left the country. His brother-in-law had been visiting at the time, though. I think I saw a goatman today. Some background info. I live right by a bike trail that cuts into a dense forest that goes on and on for miles. The trail is actually laid upon old railroad tracks, and along the way, there are still old pre-1900s buildings lost in the dense forest that still remains unexplored. When I was a kid, I was always deathly afraid to go out into these woods for some reason. Well, what I encountered today has rekindled that fear. This afternoon at around 1 o'clock, I really felt like riding my bike. The weather is so nice now, and I love being alone out in the woods away from everyone, so it was perfect. I pack up a notebook, a pen, always on hand in case of inspiration, and a big bottle of water and head off into the woods. The opening is so tiny against the vast dense forest, you have to know exactly where it is to find it. It always seems spooky and mystical because it's just this black, almost doorway looking void amidst this mountain of trees and underbrush. The speed down the hill as usual, and in a couple of seconds, reach the crossroads. One goes forward into the thickest part of the forest, the left goes towards the city and highway, and the right goes out into the open, endless fields and farmland with the big patches of forest spread throughout. I sat there for a little bit, took a swig of water, and head right. I haven't been out very far past the fields before, and I have a day to kill, so I keep going and going and going. Past the open fields and the huge pastures, past the familiar broken down railroad checkpoint or whatever it is, past the one single house that lies just outside the trail, past the huge rusting metal bridge. So I'm going and going and going, and eventually I see a beware sign nailed to a tree. Then another. Then a couple altogether nailed to an old busted phone line, and finally a huge wooden barricade that says, "Stay out." Pick related, except imagine thicker and the trail like 20 feet higher than the tree bases. The thing was already pushed partially out of the way like someone had been in before me, and being the rebel that I am, I just had to see what's back there. Something I soon came to regret. So I'm riding again, and the forest is far thicker than before, and on each side of the trail, about 4 inches out, it drops right off. Steep as fuck and deadly, that's for sure. At this point, I'm a bit uneasy, as it is completely silent, not a fucking sound. I mean, this is deep, thick forest. Why am I not hearing any animals? Immediately after this realization, I come upon an opening finally. Down below, it's now swampy and dark. The trees are far and few between and rise out of these deep, dark pools of water. I'm creeped out at this point. It's eerie as fuck out here. I'm alone and I'm getting worried. I start crossing this very sketchy old wooden bridge, slowly, and then hear this deep, low grumble and immediately pause. Nothing but eerie, empty silence. Not a fucking sound all around me. I then carefully start again and realize it's just my tire. The thing has gone flat. I have no idea how I didn't realize that earlier at any point in my trip, but I mean, it was totally and utterly dead. Then I heard this dreadful fucking blood-curdling scream tear through silence. I'm teary-eyed and have goosebumps as I tell this. I'm frozen. I have no idea what it is, no idea where it was, and of all fucking times, my tire is flat. A sick breaks and I immediately whip my bike around and started pedaling my fucking ass off. All of a sudden, I start hearing shit crashing in the woods and I don't dare look out there. I'm swerving all over this shitty trail because it is covered in pebbles, holes, cracks, broken branches, and all kinds of other shit that can all totally kill me at this speed. And somehow, before, I didn't see these clumps of white stringy fur all caught on the trees and along the trail. The sounds of something racing through this dense, thick brush are so loud I can hear it over my horrendously obnoxious, flat tire squishing and squashing on the ground as I am almost spinning the chain off my gear. At this point, a million things are racing through my mind. My legs are absolutely burning from riding so far out into the woods and now blazing back on this goddamn tire. I swerve right on the edge of the trail in the sandy, pebbly shit when flying out into the trees, jumped over a huge pothole, and heard another loud-ass scream. That didn't even faze me at this point. I'm just pounding my legs, breathing so hard my chest hurts, and waiting for my tire to explode at any moment and to finally get eaten by whatever the fuck is chasing me. I just missed the barricade, literally centimeters from crashing headfirst into the thing. Finally, I see a light off in the distance. I'm close to getting back on the fields and back towards home. I'm filled with a new wind of energy and kick it into hyperdrive now. The sounds of crashing are now getting softer, slower, then stop. I made it. I finally made it. I zoom right out into the sunlight. I've never been happier in my life to feel the sun in my eyes. At that moment, I just stop. The fatigue just immediately hits me like a wave. I'm dead tired and couldn't move another inch. I turned my head around to look back at whatever the fuck was there. And in the darkness, I see two red burning eyes just staring right at me. I felt my entire body go cold. Then, in a flash, they were gone. I rode back fast as I could, but eventually slowed down and crawled my way all the way back. I downed what little bit of water I had left, and even though it was hot, I wasn't sweating one drop. I was literally frozen from that stare. Did I see a goat man? Tomorrow, I'm getting a gun license and buying a shotgun and never going out into those woods again. Fuck, I'm even considering moving into a city away from the wooded areas now. Could you describe it? Did you get a good look? It was tall, taller than me, at least, and I'm 6'2". It was slim and had long limbs, but I could see it was pale under the scattered light that broke through the canopy. And alright guys, that wraps up some disturbing stories from 4chan. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This was a bunch of different array of stories. I mean, from the wooded one, where the guy that was trying to recollect his memory. That one was a really unique story. I really like that one. From the dark web, and that guy seeing that disturbing video on his, coworkers or just like boss's computer or whatever, into the final one with the goat man and some other ones. It was just a weird mix. And also the Vietnam one, I really liked that one as well. That one was really interesting to me. But, a weird mix of stories, but I really enjoyed them all. I hope you guys enjoyed them as well. If you did, please comment down below. I'd love to hear your feedback. I read every single comment, so please comment and like the video if you haven't already. And please subscribe as well. That helps a ton. And that wraps up some disturbing stories from 4chan. Comment down below if you'd like to see more 4chan stories in the future. I like recording them, and you guys seem to like them, so thank you. And that wraps up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. This was Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.